Solve triangle ABC if A is 85 degrees, B is 35 degrees, and C has a length of 30. And then we will round our final answer to the nearest tenth. Right, the first thing we should do is we should draw out this triangle, just so that we sort of see what information is given. Okay, which sides and which angles are given. So I'll call that one A, the one on the top B, C down here, doesn't really matter. Okay, so we know that A is 85 degrees, so we're given this angle here. B is 35 degrees, and C is length 30, and C is in here. So in this case, we have two angles and an included side, right? The side in between them. That is what's known as an ASA triangle. Now, you realize, right? As long as two angles are given, right, we can always find the third angle. Okay, because we know that the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. So we call it an ASA triangle, but it doesn't matter. SAA or AAS. Okay, as long as we have two angles and any side, okay, it doesn't matter. The side doesn't have to be in between the two angles, right? Then it qualifies as one of these three. Okay, so in that case, we need to use the law of sines. Okay. So the law of sines says that the sine of angle A divided by its opposite side equals the sine of B divided by its opposite side, and that's equal to the sine of C divided by its opposite side. Okay. So we actually know the value of angle C, right? Even though it's not given, because the sum of the angles in the triangle is 180 degrees. So we'll take the 85 plus 35, which is 120, subtract that from 180, so we know that C is equal to 60 degrees, okay? So now that we have all this information, now let's just set up, right? We want to set up the law of sines, plugging in the values that we know. Okay, so for example, the sine of 85 divided by A, we don't know the length, the opposite angle A, equals the sine of 35 divided by its opposite side, which we don't know. That should equal the sine of 60 divided by its opposite side, which we do know, right? In this case, we do know that length, which is a length of 30. So we actually have, check this out, right? We have three ratios, right? We have three different fractions, but they are all equal to each other. Okay? So now we can just use a little bit of algebra and you set up two of these ratios, right? Set up two ratios equal to each other. That's called a proportion. And then we should be able to solve, right? So for example, we'll do the sine of 35 over B equals the sine of 60 over 30. And since it's a proportion, we can just cross multiply these. So B times the sine of 60 equals 30 times the sine of 35 degrees. And then we'll just divide this out, right? So B should equal 30 times the sine of 35 degrees all over the sine of 60 degrees. At this point, you do have to use your calculator to get this answer. Now, all calculators are a little bit different in how you have to enter these in. Make sure you're in degree mode, okay? But if you do this properly, okay, then you should get that B equals a length of 19.9. So what's left? Well, now we have to find A, right? So we'll do the same thing. We'll use this ratio and this ratio, set them equal to each other. So the sine of 85 over A equals the sine of 60 over 30. And then similarly, we'll cross multiply these. A times the sine of 60 equals 30 times the sine of 85. And then we'll just divide this side out and we'll get A by itself. So A equals 30 times the sine of 85 degrees all over the sine of 60 degrees. Okay? So once again, when you're using your calculators, right, make sure you know how to use it properly. Right? Particularly whenever you do a trig function, some calculators you have to enter the degree in first and then hit sine. Then other ones you can actually just hit sine 85 and enter. Okay, so it's a little bit, every calculator is a little bit different. Okay, well, either way, make sure that you get the correct value here, right? A should equal 34.5. Okay. Now, remember, this is called an this triangle is not a right triangle. Okay. What that means is, well, there's no 90-degree angle here. Remember, If there is a 90-degree angle, you can always use Pythagorean theorem, right? As long as you know two sides, right? So you got to be very careful about these. These are called oblique triangles. Okay, in this case, this triangle is categorized as being acute, right? There is no angle greater than 90 degrees. Okay, so be careful that you don't use Pythagorean theorem here once you get two sides. Okay, you have to use the law of sines.